You know, Ted, Drow are just so overrated.
Why do you say that?
They're just super goth and mega emo.
Oh, come on. They're not all that bad. You've got, Dritz. You've got Lariel. You've got your Laxel.
Serious? You think a few outliers is going to be a saving grace for the whole entire species?
Well, what do you think we should do about it?
Well, Ted, let's discuss. Don't use Drow. Use this monster in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons instead. Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Dave, and as always, I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchist Ted.
Hey, maybe this is your first time hanging out in Ted's basement with us. Nerdarchy is a place for news, views, and homebrews for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Hey, sometimes we even talk about other role-playing games.
So if you don't want to miss a single video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and to tune to that notification bell.
Alright, so we're talking about Drow and what to replace them with. But before we can really do that, I think we need to discuss what the Drow are and what kind of roles they fill in the game.
Absolutely. So Drow are an Underdark race. They are typically, chaotic in their actions. And, while they've got their own societal structure, generally you're going to see them as, raiders on the small or large scale.
Yeah, they really do represent this as a role. They represent this threat from some other place, right? The Underdark is alien enough to really almost be like another world, especially the deeper you get, because you have that layer that's like, I want to say, is between the Underdark and the surface world that isn't like people from the surface world to be like, I'm going into the Underdark, and the Underdark people are like, you haven't even touched the Underdark yet.
See, you've got the underground where your dwarves live, your miners live, your gnomes, have the capacity to go, your rock gnomes. But it's the deeper layers of the underground that are the Underdark, where things are alien. You have monsters that the surface world, just have no idea about. You have alien mindsets of aboleth, mind flayers, things that are just crazy, that everybody just doesn't like the sun. We're just going to live down here in peace.
The analogy would be like, I went whitewater rafting, and someone that really does whitewater rafting would be like, no, you took a raft down the river. That wasn't whitewater rafting. They're completely two different things. So with that, the Drow also, they're neutral evil by alignment, but like you said, there's a lot of chaotic elements to their society that's been kind of written into the lore because they follow the Demon Queen, Loth, and also they range in CR from 1/4 to 20. So what that really tells me is a lot has been written about the Drow, because there's 13 different basically sub-monsters under that, so different categories of monsters that you could use. So you have tons of different flavors of Drow.
And that's all before you take the NPC options that are in the back of the monster manual and just slap Drow onto it. So you could go even further.
So I think what we're looking for here is, if we're going to replace the Drow, we need raiders from some other place, some foreign place, some alien place to insert instead. So you came up with a set, I came up with a set, and we're going to work from there. You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
All right, so I kind of felt like I went the easy route, although I do like your option as well, because we discussed this off camera, of course. If you're going to replace Drow, something from the Underdark, something that typically has magical powers, that has the ability to see better than you do while you're down in the Underdark, I'm going to go with Duergar. So I've pulled up D&D Beyond, and there are 13 options from a range of challenge rating 1 up to challenge rating 12 that fall under Duergar.
Wait a minute, Ted, did you say D&D Beyond?
I did say D&D Beyond.
D&D Beyond is our sponsor.
Well then, how about we talk about it?
Absolutely. As always, we love D&D Beyond. They're the sponsor for this video and many other videos on the channel. They make our life so much easier as content creators, but not only that, as gamers. We use them to create characters, make new monsters, new magic items, new spells, write our campaigns in now. We love to do our campaigns digitally, and D&D Beyond just makes it so easy.
And, you don't have to get the subscription service, although we highly recommend, getting everything that's there because you just have it all in one place. You don't have to look through all the books, but there's loads of free content over on D&D Beyond. You got the articles, you got the videos, and if that's not enough, all of the SRD content is there for anyone who wants to access it for free.
Absolutely. Hey, and even Sam Riegel and Liam and Brian are running for president for D&D Beyond. So if you support Critical Role, you would support D&D Beyond.
I don't think it's an official election. I don't think they're going to oust anybody. But,
Sam Riegel, he even had endorsements. It seems pretty official to me.
If you're on board, feel free to, hashtag, vote Sam or hashtag, vote Liam down in the comments. Just, let us know what side you're on.
As always, there will be a link down in the description to D&D Beyond. Go check them out. There's all the free content, the paid content. There's all kinds of stuff over there. Go take a look.
All right. So as I was saying, Duergar, we have lots of options. You've got a, Duergar despot. You've got a deformed Duergar. Lots of, alchemist, darkhaft, hammerer. Some of these things that are even hard to pronounce. Mindmaster, screamer, soulblade. Lots of fun stuff. Actually, it's a half all the way up to challenge 12. So you can get some fun stuff going on with Duergar. They are, slavers, raiders. They are emotionless, so you've got another, deviation from that drow. If you want to just be like, look, there's no emotion in the battle. How crazy is it to just see them, this wave of enemies coming forward? No shouting, no screaming, no love of battle going on. They're just here to kill you. I think you could have a lot of fun.
It's just a job that they need to get done. Absolutely. You're looking in their eyes and they look dead, like looking into the eyes of a shark. So how many different options was that, Ted?
So it's 13 options. Your strongest two, there's one challenge 6, which is your Duergar warlord, and a challenge 12, which is your Duergar despot from Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. And you've got, just like I said with the drow, you've got the option of taking the awesome magical presence that is a Duergar and applying them to any of the NPCs that are in the back of the book. Whether you want, the veterans that are a challenge 3 or, the archmages, that I think is a challenge 9. You can have a lot of fun, playing with all of these different, options that are there. You add in the enlarge, the invisibility, the superior dark vision, and you are making those adversaries that much more challenging by slapping that Duergar template onto it.
So one of the things we like to do when we do this segment is also talk about how we would use them in a game.
So I think Duergar, offer that ultimate raider, capacity. Yeah, the drow can be stealthy, but the Duergar can be invisible. They literally have the ability to just be like, boom, they're all gonna, have a signal. They all disappear from sight and they march around the corner. You could even have them, marching in step. And in the, caverns of the Underdark, you don't necessarily know how sound is traveling. Mm-hmm. So it might be like, echoing, boot stomp, boot stomp, boot stomp, boot stomp. And while you're trying to pinpoint, where they are, they drop their invisibility and you realize that you've been surrounded. So they unleash their attacks from melee. They're right there. You don't have a chance to really respond because you're already engaged.
Yeah, I mean, they dwell in the Underdark, so they know how sound works and travels, so they might use that to their advantage. They're not trying to cover the sound of their boots tromping or the clank of their metal. Matter of fact, they use it to unnerve their enemies because you hear it, but you don't see it.
Right.
And with their superior dark vision, they're going to sight you way before you see them. Duergar are the ancient enemies of dwarves, so there could be you can use them in a conflict with, one of the dwarven communities, or you could use them as slavers. They're taking people. It also definitely leaves an avenue where they are very likely to take you alive and not murder you because of the fact that they're slavers and they want to put you to work or sell you as slaves.
And you could wind up changing the whole breadth of the campaign based on the success or failure of that particular encounter.
What about a surprise encounter with Duergar? Your players, they're taking on a superior force of illithids and their minions. Maybe they're losing. Out of nowhere, Duergar began appearing and slaughtering the Mind Flayers because they have no great love for the Illithids because they had enslaved them. They kind of made them what they are today.
This is true.
So the players could be like, "Oh man, we're rescued. These dwarves have come to save us." And then after the grisly work of the Illithids is done and over with, they turn as one towards the party.
Oh crap!
And now the players have to decide what they're going to do. Can they negotiate? Can they talk their way out of it? Can they fight their way out of it? Can they flee?
I don't know if the conversations are anything like the negotiations that I tried to have on Thursday night. I don't think so.
In your mini terrain,
yeah, in my most recent game, I had a loose conversation going, and the paladin in the party, he's just like, they're demon worshippers, they're slavers. I pull out my sword and I attack.
He fixed that real quick. So, all right. So for my choice, I went with Gith, specifically the Githyanki. Now, they do actually share something in common with the Duergar. They were also enslaved by the Mind Flayers and Illithids and have no great love for them.
So, I mean, that's a common thing. But with the Drow, they're also, agile and lithe. So, like, you're going to have some of that same physicality to it.
Yeah, to me, they kind of look like disfigured elves anyway. So we get a Githyanki warrior, knight, Gish, Kithrak, and Supreme Commander. We're going to range from CR3 to CR14. So we don't have a lot of breadth the way we do with the Duergar. I would definitely recommend using NPC classes to kind of fill out the roster if you wanted something different. You would have to back down the Githyanki warrior to make it more suitable to a lower level party, which very soon we're going to get that feature in D&D Beyond where we get the slider and we're going to be able to do it really easy. But think about this, a species, a race that is so badass that you don't even see them until they're at least a CR3.
So we were talking off air about, the veritable threat of what the Githyanki are, and that you could honestly put one out against a first level party, and before they've really got the ability to, interact, it's mowed down two of them.
Yeah, it most certainly could do that. And even not a first level party, you could use this in a scenario where there are NPCs and, giths start popping in because they have the ability to Misty Step. They have their jump and they can jump like 45 feet with that spell-like ability. They appear in the mist and boom, 2 sword slashes, 2 deaths. They do 16 points of damage on average with a hit. Half of that is psychic.
So like that's going to seriously mess up your totem barbarians. But the sheer amount of damage of averaging 16 on a hit, that's enough to take down, any, first level adventurer and most second.
Now, the thing about the Githyanki, where your Underdark races come from beneath, and that can be terrifying as it is. The Githyanki are going to do it a different way. They may very well just appear in the sky in astral skiffs, and they begin raining death from above.
I think that you made a phenomenal choice. It doesn't have the quite the breadth, the scope of the other races, but the mindset, I think, really feels, it gets the raider mentality. You've got the ability to put in some severe plot threads of, okay, well, what happens, if they come across a silver sword? If they don't know what it is, like, that's a treasured possession by the Githyanki. They don't want that in anyone's hands but the Githyanki. And if an adventurer gets it without knowing what it is, they're going to think it's an amazing weapon because of what they are and what they can do. So, like, you could have a whole, campaign arc or mini arc just based around, that sword either getting into or getting out of, the player's hands.
So the Gith themselves are ageless because they live on the astral plane. And what they do is they set up strongholds on the material plane in order to raise their young. And then once they raise them, they ship them, back to the astral plane. So this is an opportunity for the players to encounter them and, encounter one of their strongholds where they're raising their young. They probably have some of their most skilled warriors, most fierce and ferocious warriors guarding these places.
The elite.
The elite, because this is basically the future of the race, essentially. So they're not going to want that tampered with. That's one way you could encounter them. Another could be they go out on these hunts and they hunt illithids. They also have a very deep-rooted hatred for that species, and they want to take illithid heads. And you could do the same thing, as we described the Duergar. These guys show up and start slaughtering them. But, they're not particularly nice guys to begin with, so they're probably going to turn on you. Or maybe they show up after the fight, and you've taken out the illithids they've been tracking. So now they're kind of pissed off, and they want to vent on somebody.
That was our quarry.
Yeah, you've placed yourself between our quarry and us. You are now the hunted. So that could definitely be a way to go. They could find or capture an astral skiff, and the gith come looking for it. So there's a lot of ways to kind of insert this species, this race, into your game. And there's a lot of ways to foreshadow it so that your players could kind of have an idea what they're dealing with. They could find an old stronghold that's been destroyed, or maybe it's not that old. It's a recent attack, and the gith reinforcements show up as the players are discovering it.
It's like, what did you do?
You've got some explaining to do for sure. There's a ton of ways you could work the gith into your game.
I think there's my brain is just littered with campaign seeds of the abandoned stronghold, the captured stronghold, the guards aren't there, and there's a whole bunch of babies. Maybe they're not familiar with the race, and they find a bunch of young that need to be taken care of. How do they react? What do they do? How do the players react when the guards do come back? Perhaps there was a Githzerai raid, incoming, and the Githyanki went out and dealt with them and have come back to find that there's other people in with their young. All kinds of craziness, can happen there. They could, if you're talking about a higher level game, what if they defeated a raiding party and the astral skiff is there? Does the party claim it as a prize, and do you come up with stats for it and let them use it, or does it a bigger force come to be like, no, you can't have that?
Well, and that's a good point too, because the gith kind of divided into two different separate subspecies, right? Subraces. Githyanki, Githzerai, and that's another angle. They're also bitter enemies. So instead of inserting the illithids, you could use Githzerai. I love the idea of finding the young unattended, and maybe they don't know what they are, and they start taking care of them. Maybe they get attached, but then maybe they learn what they are, and then it creates a dilemma. Like, what do you do? These are going to grow up to be horrible individuals, most likely, or is it nurture versus nature? You have to decide. You have to make these hard moral quandaries. But also, if the gith find out that you have them, they're going to want to take them from you. Maybe the Githzerai, that sometimes they don't seem quite as bad as the Githyanki, maybe they come and try and take them from you because they want to raise them as Githzerai and use them as double agents or something. So you could do all kinds of crazy things with the espionage, between the two different sub-races of Gith.
That's it just keeps feeding into itself. Those are some great ideas, but I guess the question is, what do you think of these ideas? Did we spur any idea threads of yours? What would you use to replace Drow? There's a great place to talk about that, and that's down in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
On your way down to the comments, check out that link to D&D Beyond and go check out all the great content over there.
So until next time, stay nerdy.